Okay, today we are going to look at how to divide polynomials. So you're going to learn to divide them by monomial, and then you're going to learn to divide them by a polynomial. So basically, fractions are just another way to write division. When you're dividing something like this, you have to make sure that you can divide each term. So 12t divided by 2 minus 4 divided by 2 is equivalent. If I do this division, 12 divided by 2 is 6, and then t, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2. So with 12t minus 4 divided by 2, that's equal to 6t minus 2. Here I've got some variables involved, so I have to remember to use the rules for division that you learned. So we're going to divide everything by 3ab. Okay, so when I do this division, 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then we subtract our exponent. So 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So my first term is 5a squared b. Here, 6 divided by 3 is 2, and the ab's both cancel out. And then lastly, 12 divided by 3 is 4. And then b squared divided by b is b. And then we don't have anything to combine or divide with the a, so it's 4b divided by a. So that's our final answer. Now this, by the way, is not ending up to be a polynomial because I've got a variable in the denominator. When we go to divide a polynomial by a binomial, we can do long division. So we're going to take you back to old school, back when you were in elementary school, and you had to divide. And it's the same process. So when you did, say, 4 and 828, first thing I did was say, how many times does 4 go into 8? And it's going to go in twice. It's the same thing here. How many times does x go into x squared? Well, it goes in, if I divide x squared divided by x, it gives me x. So now you multiply, right? And then you would subtract and bring down the next thing. Okay? Here you couldn't divide, so you put a 0 up. Bring down the next thing, and you get 28. And then that's 7. So this whole process is exactly the same. So in order to get x squared, I've got to multiply x by x. So now I multiply here to here and here to here. And that gives me x squared minus 2x. And then I subtract. Now remember that you learned that subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So I'm going to make this an addition, that subtraction, and that addition. And now I can just add. So when I add, negative 5x plus 2x is negative 3x. And then you bring down the next term. So negative 3x plus 6. Now you look at, what do you multiply x by to give you negative 3x? Well, you're going to multiply by negative 3. Okay? Or look at it as negative 3x divided by x is negative 3. And again, we multiply here to here and here to here. So we get negative 3x, and negative 3 times negative 2 is plus 6. And again, we're going to subtract. And that's going to be the same as adding and changing everything to its opposite. So when I subtract, negative 3x plus 3x is 0, and 6 plus negative 6 is 0. So our answer for this is x minus 3. Okay. Now, you can check if you wanted to by multiplying, right? Whether you use FOIL or the box. So x times x is x squared, negative 2x, in this box negative 3x, in this box positive 6. And if I combine my like terms, I get x squared minus 5x plus 6, which was what we started out with. So you know you're right. So there's a way you can check to see if you're right. All right, let's look at this problem. We're dividing this 4-term polynomial by p plus 4. So p plus 4, and then p cubed plus 11p squared plus 19p minus 36. Okay. So what do I multiply p by to give me p cubed? Well, I'm going to multiply by p squared. Multiply so that I get p cubed. P squared times 4 is 4p squared. Subtract, changing things to its opposite. Adding the opposite, right? It's the same as subtracting. And p cubed minus p cubed is 0. 11p squared minus 4p squared is 7p squared. Bring down the next term. Okay. What do I multiply this p by to give me 7p squared? I'm going to multiply by 7p. Okay. Multiply, so I get 7p squared plus 28p. I'm going to then subtract. Again, definition of subtraction is adding the opposite. So make that addition, make these the opposites. I think some of your teachers have used copy, change, change, KCO, any of those kind of things, but this applies even with binomials. So 7p squared plus negative 7p squared is 0. 19p squared plus a negative 28p is negative 9p. Okay. And lastly, what do I multiply p by to give me negative 9p? And that would be negative 9. Got to bring down this negative 36, so we're bringing the sign down with it. When I multiply, I get negative 9p minus 36. And if I was to subtract them, they're exactly the same. So I get a remainder of 0. Now, I'm not worried about remainders. Sometimes you will have problems with remainders, but not in Algebra 1. Now, we learned the box method for multiplication, and so I'm going to show you the box method for division. And I didn't quite understand it until last year when some of Mrs. Fennell's students, we knew there was a box method, and they finally figured it out and showed us how to do it. So some of my kids that are in geometry right now figured out how to do this. All right, so this is a cube, so I'm going to have 2 by 3. My x minus 9 is going to go here, and I'm looking for this up here. So I'm just going to write x cubed minus x squared minus 73x plus 9 up here to remind us that's what we're looking for. So if you think back to the box method, our final answer, what we got when we multiplied, was in here. So I'm going to put this x cubed right in this box. And then it's kind of the same process. What do I multiply x cubed by to give me x? Well, x squared. So remember, it goes on top. So if you're thinking back to the multiplication, x times x squared is x cubed. Okay. Now I'm going to multiply. X squared times negative 9 is negative 9x squared. Now remember that our like terms ended up on the diagonal. So we want whatever is in this box in negative 9x squared to add up to negative x squared. So you could just subtract to figure that out. Negative 9x squared minus a negative x squared, or I'm sorry, negative x squared minus a negative 9x squared gives us 8x squared. Okay, so when you add those, that gives you that negative x squared. So now what do you multiply x by to give you 8x squared? Well, you multiply by 8x. We multiply, we get negative 72x. This diagonal has to add up to here. So negative 72x plus negative x gives me negative 73x. And then to get my final term, what do I multiply x by to give me negative x? And that would be negative 1. And then if I multiplied, this would give me positive 9, which is our last term. So we're done. When you divide, you get x squared plus 8x minus 1. So we're basically taking the box method that we learned for multiplying, and we're doing it in reverse. Look, those are kind of Mardi Gras colors. All right, next. What I want you to notice here is that I've got a 3. This exponent is 1, and this would be a 0 on the a. I've got to have a 2. So you want to make sure that you've got, if I start with 3, I've got all of the exponents all the way down to 0. So this would be 0a squared, because 0 times a squared is 0, minus 28a plus 16. All right, so we're going to make our box. I start out with 4 terms. I just need 3 columns. And then my 2a plus 8 is going to go here. We're going to start with this, so it's going to go here. So you think about it, when you were adding these up, this was always your first term when you were done. So in order to get this box to be 2a cubed, I have to multiply the 2a by a squared. And then I'm going to multiply to get this box down here, 8a squared. I've got these like terms right here, and they have to add up to 0. So that's going to be negative 8a squared. These should be squared, sorry. Okay. And now I multiply this by negative 4a. So 2a times negative 4a gives me that 8a squared. Negative 4a times 8 goes here, so negative 32a. These like terms have to add up to negative 28. So what do I add to negative 32 to give me 28, negative 28? Well, that's going to be 4. So I'm going to add 4a here. Okay. And then to find out what my last term is, 2a, to get 4a, I've got to multiply 2a by 2. So plus 2. If I multiply 2 times 8 is 16. Okay. And you can double check real quick by adding up your diagonals if you wanted to, because really we're multiplying. Here's our final answer. If I simplify what's in the box, 2a cubed, the 8a squareds cancel, negative 32 plus 4 is negative 28a, and then 16. So that matches what we started with, okay? And so our answer is a squared minus 4a plus 2. All right. So on your quiz, you're going to be asked to multiply at least one by the box method and at least one by log division. So you need to do both. I want you to try both. Once you've tried both, then you have a choice of how you're going to do this, whatever works best for you. So you've learned how to divide a polynomial by a monomial and how to divide a polynomial by a polynomial. So guys, have a math-tastic day.